What's up, everybody? Welcome to the rLounge. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out of my house at night because she threw all of my food away? I seriously can't believe this is a thing, but my parents are really upset at me. My sister and I grew up together, but aren't very close. It really wasn't from any drama. We didn't have a big fight to cause distance, but rather just have opposite personalities and interests. If I had to describe my attitude towards my sister, it would be apathetic love. Like, she's my sister, so I want her to be healthy and happy, but we just unfortunately don't hang out, call a chat, etc. She recently received an opportunity to interview for a job near our hometown and reached out to see if she could stay with me for a week. My mother was ecstatic that my sister might be coming home finally. She moved across the country right after college and hasn't been back in almost 10 years, except for Christmas. She spends Thanksgiving with her in-laws, or the one-off birthday business trip vacation. I was more than happy to open my home up, thinking we could maybe bond or deepen our relationship. It was all kind of awkward, but nothing horrible until the third night. I came home from drinks with my friends around 10 p.m., went into my kitchen for a snack, and realized that almost all of my food was gone. I'm not even exaggerating. I swear, 90% of my pantry was just gone. I asked my sister, and she told me that she was shocked I ate anything with preservatives and unnatural, and that I was poisoning my body. So she took it upon herself to throw away everything she deemed unhealthy. Guys, I'm talking about so much food, both packaged and unpackaged. Even things like spices that weren't fresh were tossed. It was like someone had robbed my kitchen. I demanded that she pay to replace everything, but she dug her heels in and said that she was doing me a favor and that the way I ate was disgusting. Her literal words. I know I'm biased, but my diet isn't even crazy. It's pretty much standard food you'd find at any grocery store. I was so upset, I made her pack up and leave, and she ended up having to take a cab about 30 minutes away to stay with my parents. My mom is absolutely devastated that we're fighting and insists that I apologize in order to keep the peace, because she really hopes my sister will take the job and move back. I told my mom that if she wanted to lose not one, but both daughters, then she'd keep pushing me to apologize for something I feel I have a right to be upset about. My dad says that she's been crying every night though, and I love my mom so much, I feel like a huge a-hole for being stubborn about the situation. Edit. To answer a few questions I was asked DM'd. Yes, I did invite my sister out to drink with me. She declined, saying that she didn't like going to dive bars and wanted to stay sober because it was a work trip. I respected that decision, but I had already planned to go out with my girlfriends. It was a birthday. I did the math, and she threw away close to $1,000 worth of food. I listed some items in a comment below, but it included dried pasta, ground beef, pre-cut veggies in a container, juice, canned soups, rice, chicken broth, leftovers, and even bread, because it was white. This isn't even close to the start of my list. Our first judgment comes from Piper6728. Not the a-hole. Your sister was a self-righteous a-hole and was lucky she only got kicked out. I would have been tempted to call the cops on that crap. Edit. Thanks for the awards and votes. Next judgment from Acceptable Day 6086. Not the a-hole, but OP, your parents are literally telling you that they care more about the sister who moved away than the one who stayed. Do with that what you will. Spices can be hard to find and expensive depending on your tastes, and the food alone would cost hundreds of dollars. Get that money. ETA. Thank you for the award. Danny Big D thinks, not the a-hole. She can apologize to you after she pays you back for everything she threw out. King's Ransom 79 chimes in, not the a-hole. This is a hill I would die on. I can't imagine having to suddenly pay to replace all my food, spices included. Never mind the wastefulness of tossing perfectly good food that could have been donated to a charity pantry. Your parents' anger is misplaced. Our next comment from Zenfidel55. Not the a-hole. Appeasement is not the answer. Has she thrown away your parents' food also, or was this just a special treat for you alone? DOP responds, no, I asked my dad and she hasn't even mentioned anything about their diet, and they honestly eat 100% worse than me. I seriously don't know why my sister felt compelled to do that to me, and it's left me baffled, outraged, and kinda hurt. Not that it would make me okay, but I'm also a healthy young adult, so it's not like an intervention was needed. On to the next adventure. Am I the a-hole for not waking my boyfriend, which made him late to his first day at a new job? This is a throwaway account for privacy purposes. I, 28 female, have lived with my boyfriend, 30 male, for 3 years now. When I first stayed the night and he overslept, I woke him up. He woke up in a bad mood, and after a big fight, made it absolutely clear that I should not wake him up even if I knew he would be late to meeting the Pope. His words. After I calmed down, I wrote a contract that said I would never wake him up under any circumstances short of an emergency as long as he never blames me for oversleeping. He laughed and signed it. I kept it with my important documents. Daughter of 2 lawyers, get everything in writing and don't sign anything unless you and your lawyer read it, are rules to live by. Fast forward to yesterday. He just started a new job, celebrated the night before playing with some guys online. He had to wake up by 7 a.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. like usual, did all my stuff. By the time it was 7 a.m., he didn't wake up. I left the house at 8:15, and he was still asleep. When I got back, he was there, and he was very angry. He started shouting and blamed me for being late, said I should have woken him when I noticed he overslept. All I did was stay silent until he stopped shouting, then showed him the paper he signed. And then I said I never woke you up, and I never will. You're an adult and you can set an alarm like the rest of us. Also, you being late is a you problem, and I have no part in it at all. Now he says that I'm an a-hole, and I should know that the old rules do not apply since he no longer works for his friend that was lax with time. I still think I did nothing wrong. So, am I the a-hole? First reaction from Narrow Octopus. Not the a-hole. It also sounds like you're in a bad relationship. Hello Friends chimes in. The guy is 30 years old and unable to wake up for his new job, then blames his girlfriend even though it's his responsibility? Talk about a catch. Butt Scratcher 007 thinks, not the a-hole. This is the second post I've commented on today regarding grown-ass men being responsible for getting their asses out of bed. One more comment from Barely Hills 615. Not the a-hole. He's an adult, and if the job really mattered to him, then he would make sure he was on time. He's an a-hole for thinking you're his mom and making sure he wakes up on time. Let's see what we've got next, shall we? Am I the a-hole for storming out after I didn't like the birthday present I was given? I, 20 female, recently turned 20 and had a party to celebrate turning 20. It was a small gathering at my favorite sushi restaurant with only my immediate family and a few friends. Everything was going well until it came time for presents. You see, in my family, there's this tradition that when the firstborn turns 20, they are given this pocket watch that was owned by my great-grandfather. When our country was still colonized by the British, he, my great-grandfather, was taken in by some missionaries and became a teacher. As a teacher, he was super instrumental to the community and partly funded the first black-owned school there. He became headmaster, and as thanks, the community chipped in to get him a pocket watch. When my grandfather turned 20, he was given the watch and it became a tradition. As per tradition, I was expecting to get the watch. I had even made an effort of hinting how I wanted a watch for the whole year prior. Among the presents I saw this small box and got excited thinking it was the watch. The watch came in this wooden casing with a velvet lining inside of it, and it was about the same size as the box I saw. I made a deliberate choice to open that box last to make sure the night ended on a highlight. When it came time to opening the box, it was a watch, but a digital one. It was a good watch, to be honest, but it wasn't the watch. My dad was excited as he went on prattling about the features of the watch. It could count steps, connect to my phone via Bluetooth, control music, measure my heart rate, etc. While he was talking, I burst into tears and left the table running. My dad follows and asked why I was sad, and I said I wanted the watch, the one that belonged to my great-grandfather. He said he wanted to give it to my younger brother, who is 12 since he is a boy. If he gives it to me, it will leave the family since I'll get married to a man and join his family. This came as a blow, since I've always been closer to my dad than my brother was, and my brother isn't even interested in the watch like I have been my whole life. We got into an argument, and it ended with him saying my immaturity over such a small matter is why he wouldn't have given the watch to me even if I was a boy. I left after he said that. That was 2 weeks ago, and we haven't spoken since. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Information. It's always been the firstborn who got it, but the firstborns have always been men since the tradition started. I'm the first female firstborn. I suppose I shouldn't have stormed out. I'm 20 now after all. I was super overwhelmed by my feelings. I'm prone to tears, always have been, but I should have calmed myself, especially since it was a public space. First judgment from JVZs. Not the a-hole. Your father is passing you over for an important family heirloom because you are not a boy. In other words, sexism. I do not blame you for being upset. The next comment is from Iron NIA. And when you think about it, when her father found out that his first baby is female, how pretentious he had to be to act like she is part of the family, or just expected her to quietly accept the exception from the rule. The next comment is from Good Girl's Grace. Now that I think about it, not being given a watch is totally normal punishment for the horrid crime of being born a female. My dad follows and asks why I was sad, and I said I wanted the watch, the one that belonged to my great-grandfather. He said he wanted to give it to my younger brother, who is 12 since he is a boy. So you're being punished for, checks notes, lack of a penis? How grossly misogynistic. Your dad's sexism is showing, and clearly. The people saying ageism didn't even read the post. The tradition here is the firstborn child, not the first to have a penis. Passing you over based on your gender is not the same thing as passing over your brother because he's younger. Also, if this was his plan all along, why did he even tell you about the tradition? If he gives it to me, it will leave the family since I'll get married to a man and join his family. The more you think about it, the more the comment is problematic. If he thinks the watch wouldn't belong to the family anymore as soon as you get married, there are two implications. 1. Everything that's given to you belongs to your husband, even family heirlooms. This is a deeply misogynistic belief. Women own their things, separate from their spouses. Especially since it's given to you by a family, and your future spouse won't have any ties to it the way you do. 2. As soon as you get married, you're no longer part of the family. Family isn't just about one's ability to continue the family name. If you give the watch to your kids, would that count as leaving the family? Because that would mean he doesn't consider his grandkids family. Judging by his sexist plans, I seriously think he might have meant both. We got into an argument, and it ended with him saying my immaturity over such a small matter is why he wouldn't have given the watch to me even if I was a boy. If it was such a small matter, why would he jump through hoops to not give it to you? Something he knew would hurt. And no, wanting to be A, excluded, and B, treated in a sexist manner is not immature. It's only right. I don't think you should take either watches. Why should you get an heirloom from someone who only considers you temporary family? And the digital watch is clearly a bribe. He knew you wanted the watch. He knew you would be disappointed. He's trying to make up for it. Hence the talking about its features part. The next chime in from Reasonable Taro 1825. Not the a-hole. Your dad gave you a nice smartwatch as a replacement for the watch he knew you wanted. While I can see how some people might think you were crying over an Apple Watch, you were upset about not being a part of your family's tradition and being looked over for being a woman. I'm sure for any other occasion, you would have been thrilled with this gift. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for sending my cousin the bill for my kid's birthday cake because her kid ruined it? We recently threw my 5-year-old a birthday party. He hasn't had a real birthday party since he was 2 years old due to COVID, so this was the first one he'd actually remember. We wanted to make it special, so we invited all our closest friends, family members, and their kids. One of my cousins, a single mom, has a very unruly 6-year-old. He is loud, disobedient, and a nightmare in public. When it came time to blow out the candles and cut the birthday cake, he came and stood directly next to my son. I anticipated what was going to happen next and asked my husband to stand behind this kid in case he tried to pull anything. After we sang, this kid kept trying to blow out the candles. My husband kept blocking him and pulling him back, and we could tell the kid was getting frustrated. Eventually, my son blew out the candles and the kid absolutely lost it. He threw a tantrum and slammed his entire arm into the cake, knocking it into the table. It was so awkward, everyone gasped and got quiet. My son looked up at us, and I could tell he was about to start crying. In an effort to not cause a bigger scene, my husband picked him up and whispered to him that we had another special cake, just for him. We didn't, and he seemed to calm down. Meanwhile, his cousin was still standing there screaming and crying, his arm covered in cake. His mom was nowhere to be seen. I walked him over to the sink and washed him off and quietly told him that he shouldn't have done that to the cake, and that he should apologize to his cousin for what he did. He screamed "no" in my face and then ran away. My husband ended up running out to buy a sheet cake that we cut and served to everyone. I spoke to my cousin after the party about what happened since she wasn't in the room, and she brushed it off saying, "Kids will be kids." I completely disagree. I've been to plenty of birthday parties where the other kids let the birthday boy or girl have their moment. I suggested she pay for the ruined cake, and she looked at me like I was crazy. I told her how important it was to us that this birthday was special to my son, since it would be the first one he remembered, and now all he would remember was that his cousin ruined his special moment. She got extremely defensive and refused to pay for anything. Then, she accused me of acting like the perfect mom, and began to list the ways in which I was in fact not perfect. It was a hurtful conversation, and we haven't spoken since. I sent her the bill for the ruined cake, and she has not paid us. I actually feel she should pay for both cakes since her kid is the reason we had to get a new one, but I didn't go that far. My husband thinks that she will never pay us, and I should drop the issue at this point. He says that since she's a single mom, it's probably hard on her and we should cut them both some slack. I understand that, but I feel like that's just letting her and her son off the hook, and this will lead to even bigger problems in the future if we don't hold them accountable. Am I the a-hole here? Our first response from dog named Turtle. Not the a-hole, but you'll never get your money, and I think you made the point. The kid is a jerk because the parent is a jerk. No longer invite them to any parties and enjoy your immediate family because they seem nice. Next opinion from Your Little Birdie. Not the a-hole, but obviously she's not going to pay for the cake. Don't invite her to any more occasions or events, and just write her off. Her son is going to have massive problems in the future no matter what. It's not your responsibility, nor do you even have the ability to prevent that. Hounding her about paying for the cake isn't going to make any difference at all, except make both of you feel more anger and resentment. Believe me, when your son is older, he's going to remember, oh yeah, I remember a-hole cousin Joe ruined my cake that year. I wonder if he's out of jail yet. Our last comment comes from B Loved One. Not the a-hole. You're not getting that money, honey. Swallow that pill for now. What I would suggest is moving on, and going forward, excluding her and her child from things you do that he may ruin. You are not wrong for wanting a special moment for your child. Everyone wants their birthday to be special. I hope you don't feel any guilt over this. And while your husband is kind and well-mentioned, growing up with a single mother is no excuse for this behavior, and being a single mother is no excuse to not teach your child how to behave.